Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Sports Beat for the fall semester. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight, detailing the Hofstra women's soccer team, a look ahead to the MLB postseason, the start of the NFL season, and so much more. And it all starts right now here on Sports Beat. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm joined here with Sam Yarnell and Max Milstein. Let's get right into it. Hofstra women's soccer has started 8-1 on the season and is on a 5-game winning streak. But that's really been led by senior Mary Taylor. Max, what have you seen from Mary Taylor so far?
Absolute fantastic soccer. I mean, what more can you say about her that hasn't already been said around this Hofstra campus for the last, 4 years? 22 points, second in the nation, 8 goals, 6 assists. She has been everything this team has needed and so much more. There's a big reason, there's many reasons I should say, why this team is ranked 14th in the nation right now, and Mary Taylor is at the top of that list.
Max is exactly right. 22 points on the season, second in the nation. It's incredible. Mary Taylor is a certified superstar, but let's not forget about the service she's getting. No effective scorer is anything without great service from their teammates. This is people like Anya Suitner, Jordan Littleboy, and of course, Lucy Shepard. Just serving her great balls all season long. It's exactly what she's doing to score so effectively. Just great runs by Mary Taylor, and her teammates are doing a great job setting her up.
And you just mentioned it, Lucy Shepard has kind of been the peanut butter to Taylor's jelly. Does Hofstra have the most fierce offensive attack in the CAA?
Well, the CAA, there's no doubt about it. They're the best team in the CAA. They have the best everything in the CAA right now. I don't think there's much room for debate about that. But Sam mentioned Lucy Shepard, and I don't think she's getting enough love at the moment. We talked about Mary Taylor's 8 goals and 6 assists. How about Lucy Shepard's 5 goals and 7 assists? This team can score from anywhere. They can score in a multitude of ways, and they can beat you in a multitude of ways. And it's a full team effort. Head coach Simon Ridioff has done such a fantastic job building this team, and they are in such a good position heading into conference play.
Lucy Shepard is exactly what you said. Perfect for Mary Taylor. They're always seemingly on the same page. Great runs by one another. Great job feeding each other the ball. I think the biggest threat in the conference is Towson. They play such good attacking soccer. Nia Christopher, such an effective scorer. They're really good at getting out, getting numbers behind the ball, and playing that run-and-gun style that we've seen from Towson for so many years. I like Towson a lot. I like Hofstra more. I think that Towson may pose the biggest threat, but I see Hofstra walking away with this.
And Hofstra has, they always say offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And Hofstra has an elite defense, especially in goalkeeper Skylar Kuzmich. How has her really stellar play in goal helped Hofstra's offense really get it going this year?
Well, soccer's a very simple game. Score more goals than the other team, and you win. And to score more goals than the other team, you have to have a good goalie, and Hofstra has one of those. Skylar Kuzmich has been absolutely phenomenal this year, playing a part in all 6 shutouts that Hofstra has put up so far this year, and only giving up, listen to this, 4 goals. They have given up 4 goals in 9 games. That is absolutely ridiculous. And what that play on both in goalie and on that back line of the defense allows Hofstra to do is it allows them to be so much more aggressive offensively, take more chances, which leads to more goals. So I mentioned a second ago, it's a full team effort for this Hofstra Pride team, and Skylar Kuzmich is a big part of that.
Having the best keeper in the conference will always be a good thing for your team. It's always going to provide that morale boost to the dressing room, and it's something that you can always kind of fall back on. I think the most impressive thing from Skylar Kuzmich today, or this season I should say, is the amount of shots that she's faced. Only 20 shots all season is near the bottom of CAA ranks. Let's give credit to that back 4 of Hofstra. They are not letting opponents get good looks at net. They're not letting their opponents have anything. And it's really contributed to Skylar Kuzmich's great performance so far this season.
And that great performance will look to carry on to Sunday where they start conference play. Hofstra's ranked 14th nationally right now. Do we see anyone in the CAA that could give them a run for their money?
No, not at all. I mean, I know you want me to give you a name, so I think the biggest threat, Sam mentioned Towson a minute ago, my biggest threat for Hofstra is UNCW. They're a team that can score the ball, and for a team to beat Hofstra, you got to be able to score because they score a lot of goals and they don't give up a lot of goals. So I think UNCW poses the biggest threat, but that being said, there's no team in the CAA beating Hofstra. I mean, they took number 7 Penn State down to the wire, only losing by 1 goal. This is a team where if they don't win the CAA this year, it will be viewed among the Hofstra team and the Hofstra community as a big disappointment.
I mentioned Towson earlier. Max just mentioned them. I like Towson a lot. I like Nia Christopher's attacking play a lot. I like Elon a lot too, and this is why. We all remember last season the heartbreaking loss in the CAA semifinals to Elon. And really, this year, Elon is that same kind of team. They're gritty, they'll play to the end of the game, and they'll never stop. That's the thing about Elon. They're persistent. Those are the 2 teams that I could see Hofstra getting the most trouble from down the road. I really don't think either of them at the end of the day are good enough to overtake the Pride. I do see Hofstra coming out on top of the CAA this year.
And now real quick, assuming they come out on top of the CAA, how far do you see Hofstra making it into the NCAA tournament?
Why do we have to put a limit on them? They are the 14th best team in the nation. We have seen crazier things happen. They are a team. I mean, I'm not sitting here suggesting that Hofstra is going to go to the national championship or anything, but who says they can't compete with some of the top teams in the nation?
We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. Sports Beat fans, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Beat. Let's get right back into our discussion with the MLB. Now, Max, your New York Yankees have not been too impressive in the month of September. Why? What have you seen from them that's led to their collapse?
Well, I'm going to try and remain composed saying all of this, but I think we can't look at a September collapse. I think we have to look at a July and August boom. This team that they've been, where they've been losing series to the Orioles, losing series to the Indians, that's who they've been all year. Don't forget, this was a team that was 41-41 midway through the season, and then obviously they had that fantastic start after the All-Star break, which included a 13-game win streak. But since then, they've stopped getting on base. They've stopped hitting home runs. The pitching at times has been very shaky, and they just have not been playing the fundamentally sound baseball. And now I know they are in grave danger of missing the playoffs, which for a team that was expected to make it out of the American League at the beginning of the season this year, that would be such a huge disappointment. And if they don't get their act together in the next 10 games, that's going to be a reality.
The fact of the matter with the New York Yankees is they're not getting the home run production that they needed to. You look at how this team was built. Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, they built this team to hit the long ball. That's how they want this team to get the majority of their runs. And as we stand right now, the Yankees aren't even top 5 in the American League in home runs. That's definitely something that they couldn't have planned for. The pitching has been absolutely nails this year. Let's not discredit that. I think, in my opinion, the New York Yankees have had one of the better pitching staffs in the American League, if not in the major leagues this year. The thing is, it's the other 8 positions on the field they have the most trouble with. When you look around those other 8 positions, sure, they've got stars at some places, Joey Gallo, Anthony Rizzo, Aaron Judge, those kind of guys. But when you look on the whole, they have negative 5.4 wins above average by all non-pitching positions. That tells me that no matter how many stars they have, the holes that they're leaving can't get picked up by those stars. The holes they have at third base, for instance, aren't getting picked up by their new first baseman.
Well, and we talked about the American League has kind of turned into a 3-team race for the wild card between the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox. Max, who do you see going into that wild card game and then most likely facing the Rays after?
The Red Sox right now are playing their best baseball since the first half of the year. I think they will end up getting in, but I'm a Yankee fan. I'm optimistic. As good as the Blue Jays lineup is and as good as their starting rotation has become, I do believe the Yankees are going to sneak their way in there, and I think we are going to see the rivalry in the wild card game. It's going to be must-watch television for anybody who considers themselves any sort of a baseball fan. JJ, I know you and I are going to have fun with that. It's going to be awesome.
I like things ending where they started out today, JJ. I think the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are going to face off in this year's American League, wild card game. And I think the Blue Jays are going to come out on top for the reason just being at this point, the Red Sox have faced too many off-the-field issues. They've dealt with too many injuries this year. Too many people in their organization have gotten COVID. Those are two things that are October run killers. Those will kill your postseason run. So I love the Blue Jays in the AL wildcard game this year. Max, I'm sorry, I don't think the Yankees are making it that far. But, I really like the Blue Jays.
Well, now going from one league to another, the National League wildcard race is much different, and the Giants and the Dodgers have really run away and separated themselves as two contenders. What do you see the difference coming down to in October, Max, between those two teams?
Well, let's start off with how the regular season's going to end right between those two teams. And I think it's so much fun for baseball that the undoubtedly two best teams in baseball come in the same division with the Dodgers and the Giants. They're both near 100 wins, and there's still 10 games to go in this season. And I do think the Giants are going to win in the regular season and force the Dodgers to play in a one-game playoff for their season, which is going to be absolutely ridiculous for a team that's going to have over 100 wins. But the Dodgers are a more fundamentally sound team. They have more superstars. They are more talented. I think in a long series, a 5-game series or a 7-game series, the Dodgers will come out on top.
I agree with Max wholeheartedly. My thing is, I love the starting pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers this year. They're stacked. I don't think we've seen a starting pitching rotation that good since maybe the Atlanta Braves of the early 90s, or of the late 90s, excuse me. You look at their rotation, Kershaw, Scherzer, Urias, Buehler. Those are 4 guys who have either Cy Youngs at home or are contending for the Cy Young this year. That's unheard of. It's unstoppable. I don't see anyone stopping the Dodgers. Their pitching is just way too powerful.
Can we get a World Series prediction now? Who do you see coming out on top in October?
Look, I'm not saying the Red Sox. I'm not saying the Astros. I do think the Rays are going to make it out once again from the American League. I think they're a very talented team. And from the National League, I got to go with the Dodgers. I'm calling for a rematch from last year.
I like the Dodgers a lot coming out of the National League this year, but Sports Beat fans at home will remember from last semester when I said the Chicago White Sox were going to the World Series, and I'm sticking with it, JJ. I think we have White Sox and Dodgers this year.
Quite the bold take. And now from a season ramping up for the playoffs to a season that is just getting underway, the National Football League has gotten off to an electric start, but a team that has been subpar to say the least to this point is Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. Max, is it too early to say the second pick is already a bust?
Why are you asking me if he's already a bust after 2 games? He's played 2 games in his NFL career. Who are you calling a bust after 2 games? Has he played good? Not at all. He's been very, very, very bad. But name me a quarterback that is great in the NFL right now that was outstanding their rookie season. Not the first year they played, so don't give me Patrick Mahomes, their rookie season. You can't find him. I know earlier you said Cam Newton. Cam Newton is not in the league anymore. So, Zach Wilson, I'm not saying he's going to be good. I think he is in a very tough position right now. He has no talent around him right now. He's with a new head coach, and he has played terribly, but you got to give him some time.
Yeah, I have to say I'm with Max on this one. It's way too early to call Zach Wilson a bust. And it's exactly what Max said. No talent around him whatsoever. The Jets have become a system where quarterbacks go to fail. That's all that happens. And I think the biggest testament to that is Sam Darnold down in Carolina, along with former Jet Robbie Anderson. Let's not forget about that. Those are 2 guys who went into that offense and seemingly transformed it from mediocre to, oh my gosh, they might contend with the Super Bowl defending Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the NFC South. I think it's way too early to call Zach Wilson a bust, and I think Sam Darnold is really the reason why.
And from one team that plays at MetLife to another, the New York Giants have gotten off to an 0-2 start. And Max, I think it's fair to say you are not too pleased.
No, I'm not at all. Hey, for everybody watching, do not blame Daniel Jones for the Giants being bad. He has not been the problem. Daniel Jones has been good. He hasn't been fantastic, but he's been good. That game against Washington the last Thursday was one of the better games he's ever played as the pro. The Giants are not a disciplined football team. Think about the reasons they lost that game. A holding call on a wide open run to the end zone, a false start / delay of game, whichever you want to call it. You could call them both. Coming out of a timeout that knocked them out of field goal range, and an offside on a game-winning field goal attempt that was missed. Like, this team, they have no offensive line. They're just not a good football team. But Daniel Jones, not the problem.
I think it's important that we remember that Daniel Jones has taken a huge leap this season. He can run all the way into the end zone now. Huge development for the Giants starting quarterback. But JJ, the issue here is not with any singular player or group of players on the Giants. It's Joe Judge, and it's a coaching issue in New York. Quite frankly, Joe Judge in his career 6-12 as the Giants head coach. But since Tom Coughlin, no Giants coach has had a winning percentage above 50. That's incredible. The Giants need help at that head coaching position. That's what's going to turn this whole thing around for them, is getting a new coach.
Well, a team that definitely does not need a new coach is the Buffalo Bills as we go for the New York trifecta here. But their quarterback, Josh Allen, came into the season as an MVP candidate, has really been lackluster so far. Max, what's been the problem with Josh Allen?
He's bad. No, I'm kidding. I'm just saying that to anger Sam here a little bit. There's no problem with Josh Allen. He played the Steelers. The Steelers are a really good defense, and he played Miami and put up a good performance. Maybe not a Josh Allen performance we came to expect from last year, but still they put up 35 points. Like that, your quarterback's got to play semi-well if your team's going to put up 35 points. I don't want to get into MVP candidates after week 2, but Josh Allen, while he hasn't maybe been as flashy and as spectacular through 2 games as he was in 2020, he is still a franchise quarterback, a top 5 quarterback in this league, and the Bills should be, if all things go according to plan, the Bills should be Super Bowl contenders once again at the end of the season.
Thank you very much, Max. That warms my heart to hear. But also, I think it's way too early to have any sort of panic with regard to the Buffalo Bills. This is an offense that still put up 16 points week 1 against arguably the best defense in the NFL, and then turned around week 2 and absolutely annihilated the Miami Dolphins, 35-0. Not a question to me as to whether or not the Bills are still contenders. I think it's more just that they're working on getting that rust off. Josh Allen coming off of his most inactive preseason of his career, and I think we're definitely seeing the repercussions of that. But right now, the Bills are hot. Week 1, I think a lot of people are going to attribute that to a fluke as the season goes further and further on, and those 2 teams, the Steelers and the Bills, go in different directions. I really like the Buffalo Bills this year, and Max, I'll go a step farther than you. I think Josh Allen's going to win the MVP this year.
A bold take from Sam Yarnell. And mentioning Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers has really found a groove to start his season so far. Max, could we see the Carolina Panthers being an NFC contender real soon?
I need to see them play a couple more games before I'm willing to go that far. But what I will say about the Panthers right now is how bad does Sam Darnold's success, how bad does that make the Jets look right now? And I know it's a completely different system in place right now, but the fact that Sam Darnold has gone down to Carolina and absolutely balled out his first 2 games, and he just was absolutely atrocious playing with the Jets, just makes New York look terrible.
I completely agree with you, Max. You know, we talked just a couple of minutes ago, and I know I was so high on the Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson. I just don't think that this year is a year they can contend. If we want to talk about them contending maybe next year, 2 years down the road, sure. This year in the NFC South, where you've got a still really good Saints team, you've got the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers led by one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and probably the best defense in the NFL right now. You're not going to contend in a division like that when you have a team that just is only as strong as the Panthers.
Well, it's certainly music to my ears to see some Tom Brady praise, and we're going to take another short break, but stick around because FaceTimes are coming up.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
Guessing Smokey liked that idea.
The Boston Celtics will be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. Yes, you heard me right. The team that was in the first ever play-in tournament will be a top team in the Eastern Conference in this upcoming season. First of all, you may be thinking the Celtics got worse in the offseason and the front office is in shambles. Well, I'm here to tell you a familiar phrase you may have heard in the Eastern Conference. Trust the process. Brad Stevens spent 9 years coaching the Celtics on the floor, and if you don't think this was a strategic move by both Brad and the front office, then you must not watch a lot of basketball. Basketball is becoming more and more modern by the day, and we are entering an era where players are empowered now more than ever. To be a successful team in today's NBA, you must make a conservative effort to relate to your players and make sure they are happy. The Celtics' big three of Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jalen Brown basically picked new head coach Ime Udoka after being around him on Team USA in 2016. And so now if you don't want to talk about the Jimmies and the Joes and how that will make the Celtics better, let's talk about the X's and the O's. Last year, the Celtics did not get to play a single game with their roster healthy, and their roster missed the most games due to COVID in the entire NBA. So between COVID and injuries, it may have been the most infuriating season of Celtics basketball as a fan ever, and the Boston media is quick to jump to conclusions and tell you that the team stinks and is no good. I am begging you not to listen to them. Jason Tatum got COVID in January, admitted he could not breathe and his stamina was not right for the entire month of February, and then he played like a member of the All-NBA first team from March on. And if you don't, and I don't know if you've been on social media lately, but he's been in the weight room, and his trainer said he has been working on finishing stronger at the rim, something he desperately needs to do to take his game to the next level. Jalen Brown is coming off of injury, but is back in the gym and ready to be an All-NBA defender. And speaking of All-NBA defenders, Marcus Smart just signed a 4-year deal, and I strongly encourage you to love and trust the heart and soul of the Boston Celtics. They got away from what made them great in the Isaiah Thomas years, but have formed their roster to be a defend-first team while also having the scoring prowess of All-NBA talent. And even though Adam Silver may be plotting against them by giving them the Celtics 15 back-to-backs, almost double the amount of the New York Knicks, they will rise to the occasion and shock some of the fans in the league. Just remember, I told you first.
Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in Major League Baseball history. Yes, of the 10 commissioners in the history of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred has found himself at the bottom of the list. Even lower than Bartlett Giamatti, the commissioner who served a total of 3 months in office and is known for making Pete Rose agree to a lifetime ban. Sure, Manfred was filling large shoes. His predecessor, Bud Selig, was, in my opinion, one of the best commissioners the league has ever seen. In an age where Selig had built baseball up on a pedestal, Manfred dropped the ball. Manfred came into office with promises of growing the game internationally and retaining its title as America's pastime, drawing fans of all ages to the sport. Instead, he's done damage previously unimaginable, creating a 3 true outcome sport where the games don't even last as long as they're supposed to. The laundry list for Manfred starts a mere 2 years after his tenure began, when the 2017 Houston Astros executed one of the most elaborate cheating schemes the league has ever seen. Under Manfred's nose, they relayed pitching signs from a camera in center field through the dugout into the batter en route to winning a World Series. And that was only the beginning. As the pandemic struck in the middle of spring training 2020, Manfred made a baseball a hot mess, sending everyone home for months before creating a very public, very drawn-out dispute with the players' union. That was not a good look for the sport. In a time when the sports world was coming together and trying to bring people entertainment in the midst of crisis, Manfred was in Manhattan causing drama. We, the baseball fans of the world, thought this was as terrible as it could get. Nothing could be worse than the sport we love being publicly embarrassed for not getting their act together, while 2 other leagues simultaneously ran entire playoff tournaments. Then came the rule changes, the worst of which unquestionably is the extra innings rule. A runner on second to start every inning? Now that's not what baseball's about. Base runners are earned and so are runs. At no point in the game should they be given to either team. The other unequivocally bad rule is the 7-inning doubleheader rule. There are a couple of problems with this one. First, it makes managing even easier when you don't have to worry about fully batting around your lineup at least 3 times. Second, there's a confusion that comes when it comes to milestones. You know, if a pitcher doesn't allow a hit in a 7-inning game of a doubleheader, does it count as a no-hitter? Madison Bumgarner got fleeced by that caveat this past season. Third, and perhaps most importantly, baseball games were meant to be 9 innings. It's how the game works. You can't change something that fundamental about the game, especially not when it's got a history of over 150 years. All of this capped off with this past year when he outlawed all substances on pitchers' hands, making umpires pretend to be TSA security agents while putting the careers of pitchers like Tyler Glasnow in jeopardy by causing injuries. Uncle Rob, your time has come and gone. It's time for a new commissioner, someone who actually cares about the sport.
What would your reaction have been if I told you that at the beginning of the season, in September, the second most important pitcher in the Yankees starting rotation would be Nestor Cortez Jr.? Would you have laughed in my face? Would you have asked me, who is that? Both of which, by the way, very reasonable reactions. However, with just 10 games remaining in the regular season and the Yankees in an intense playoff race, that is the reality for Yankee fans. The former 36th round pick of the Yankees back in 2013 has proven all baseball pundits wrong this season, as he went from a guy that was primarily viewed as someone who could provide innings in a blowout to someone who will be a big reason why the Yankees make the playoffs should they reach the postseason. Through 19 appearances this season, Cortez has tossed 79.2 innings, allowed 61 hits, 25 runs, and has pitched to a 2.60 ERA while striking out 87. It has been truly incredible what the Yankee southpaw has done, especially considering his last 3 seasons prior to 2021, he had thrown to a 15.26 ERA, a 5.67 ERA, and a 7.71 ERA. However, it's not Nestor's stat line that just makes him such a fascinating player, but rather his unique pitching style. In an age where most of the best pitchers work very meticulously, throwing at least 95 miles an hour and trying to strike out anything in their path, Cortez is very old school. The 5'11" Cortez Jr. has a fastball that tops out at around 91 miles an hour, but he is still able to fool hitters in part due to the way where he will change his arm angle, his ability to locate both his fastball and off-speed pitches, and the way he keeps hitters off balance with his unique timing games. Cortez Jr. has been so good, his teammates nicknamed him Nasty Nestor Cortez Jr., and were all seen wearing shirts during batting practice that donned that nickname. While Nestor Cortez Jr. may not be a future All-Star or a future Hall of Famer, he has stepped up big time for a team that was in desperate need of starting pitching help, and in doing so has made each one of his outings must-watch television.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight. I want to thank my panelists, Sam Yarnell and the man who did not get the Bowtie memo, Max Milstein, for joining me. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hofstra SB, and tune in on October 6th for our second episode. Until then, I'm JJ Beale, and have a great night.